So, great, you've done these functions, you've done all this work, you've built everything. Things just aren't working. For some reason, the data isn't lining up correctly, your footers aren't adding up, it's as goofy as a mouse, whatever you're getting. You need to be able to check the errors. So there's a bunch of different abilities. Trace precedence. Just like it sounds, precedence is what cells or what values are feeding into this formula. Trace dependence is what cells are depending on this cell for their information. You can also show formulas. So instead of showing the result, it shows you the actual formula in the window. And watch window, this is one of the coolest ones. It lets you say, I want to watch this cell, even if I'm not even on this sheet. I'm on a sheet over here, but I want to know what's happening to this cell that's referencing stuff on this sheet. So you can reference things from other locations with a watch window and keep that on top of the screen. So let's show some of these. So all these are under formulas. So I can say trace precedence, and it literally shows you a blue arrow and says, okay, it needs to know the information from here, and it needs to know the information from here, and that's the precedence for this HLOOKUP. Trace dependence, well, nothing needs that cell, so it's blank. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say, well, what's dependent to this cell? So formula, trace dependence. All of these cells rely on this information. Now, the screen's starting to get a little bit messy here, because every time I do this, if I go over here and say, well, I want to know what's dependent on this, it starts getting really messy really quickly. So if you want to get rid of those, just say remove arrows and you're done. And it cleans up the screen again. But the ability to be able to see where everything's coming from can be very useful, just to get an idea of where the error might be. And you can only do that one cell at a time.
If it's on a separate tab, how will it going to tell?
If it's on a separate tab, how is it going to tell? Okay, everything here is going for a separate tab. I say formulas, trace precedence, and it shows a little table up here saying it's coming from a separate table.
Okay.
Does it tell you which table?
Well, if you want to know which table, it's always got it written right there. But if you say trace precedence, it's just
Well, you can't. What I meant is you can't drill down on it, right?
No.
it's a symbol. So you can't drill down the arrow. It's just a demonstration. Okay, so back here, and we look up. So we did trace precedence, we said trace dependence, and then I was also say that we wanted to do show formulas, which is this one right here. And now all of these are the formulas for them instead of showing the results. So that makes it a lot easier to try troubleshooting. If you know what the formula should be, or you've got an idea what the formula should be, you can go through and you can read the formulas. And you can even print this, and you'll print the formulas so you can sit down and actually try troubleshooting on a piece of paper instead of on a big screen. Sometimes that can be a lot easier. Okay, so then I want to go back, turn that off. Some other things you've got up here, you've got your error checking. If you've got an error, this will help you go through and see if it's got a common error that you can end up with. But the one I wanted to show you guys right now is watch window. So I set up a couple of watch windows, and once you set them up, they're part of the sheet, and you don't have to reset it up next time you want to do it. So even if I'm over here on sheet 6, it's still looking on sheet lookup, whatever's in cell C7 and whatever's in cell A4. So I go back to lookup, and I can change A4, instead of being 2, I can change that to 1, and you can see the change here. So the value of that is, I'm over, let's go, we're on an entirely new sheet. I'm going to take, I'm going to take C7. Where's C7? C7. I'm going to copy onto this new sheet, I'm going to copy a link to C7. Okay, so all this is a link to C7. And I'm going to add a watch to it here. So I say add watch, and it's guessing that I want sheet 2A1. And I added it here, and I go back to VLOOKUP, change this to 3, and it tells me that now on sheet 2A1 says Elmer Fudd. So you don't even have to be able to see it. You can now sort of snapshot through all the different tables and see how what you changed here is affecting something else. So if you're doing a P&L statement and you want to know the bottom line, if I change this here, how's it going to affect something 5 sheets over at the bottom? You just set a watch for it, and you can always see how that bottom line is affected. So if you're doing a budget or whatever, it helps you see what used to be invisible. So even though it says it's for error checking, it can also be really good for auditing and just trying to figure out what's going on within the data. It's a nice little treat there. Any questions on some of the different techniques of trying to troubleshoot what's going on? There's lots of other little things that you'll learn as you're going through and trying to troubleshoot these functions, but these are some of the big, not as well known ways of troubleshooting the functions.
How do you know you need to have an array function in there? Like I'll be writing this right function, right formula, but it keeps on giving me an error. And if I could do Control-Shift-Enter, it will work. Like, how do I know personally, like, should I be using Control without waiting to tell me it's an error and then try Control-Shift-Enter?
Because it tells you right in the, like for the transpose, when we went and we took a look at the transpose function, it says array. It flat out tells you if it needs an array. And if it needs an array, then that's when you start having CSE functions.
Because I was doing a SUMIF and getting, like, one sheet had all of them, for example, daily sales for a store. So January 1st, 2013 sale, January 2nd, 2013 sale, Feb 1st, 2013 sale. And then on the next sheet, I had a summary to add the HST collected for month.
Okay.
So I was doing, if month is 1, then the HST is collected in the whole month of January. And if the month is 2, then add all the HST collected if it's February. So I know how much is collected versus how much we paid, so we know the difference. But it won't work no matter what until I do Control-Shift-Enter. But I was typing it in. I wasn't going to the dialog box here. So I didn't know if it was an error or not. So
you need to know what you need to understand the function you're using. That's about all I can say. Whenever you're using a function, if you're having troubles with it, look up the help, look at these dialogues, and it'll tell you what it is you're missing.